for 25 years from the rank of police constable to senior superintendent. He was one of the pioneers in the establishment of the Crime and Problem Analysis branch of the TTPS and also the instituting of the Divisional Communication slash Operational Centers and Assistant Commissioner Northern Region and Southern Region. He was appointed Assistant Superintendent, Kappa Branch, Senior Superintendent, Criminal Investigations Department, Senior Superintendent, Port of Spain Division, Senior Superintendent, Northern Division. He is one of the qualified crime and intelligence analysts in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, having trained at the George Mason University in Washington. He trained with the UN Organization on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, in Belize crime as a crime intelligence analyst for managers. He attained his Master's of Philosophy in Criminology and Criminal Justice from the University of the West Indies. He holds an LLB from the University of London and a postgraduate diploma in mediation studies from the UWI. Acting Commissioner Jacob did several programs at tertiary institutions on police leadership, supervision, and project management at the University of the West Indies and promoting the use of technology in law enforcement. Acting Commissioner Jacob was selected as the best performing divisional commander, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in 2016. And he's the winner of the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police Top Crime Fighter in the Caribbean in 2017. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to our Dependency for the first time Acting Commissioner McDonald Jacob. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
So, Commissioner, you know, let's make sure and get everything in because we have lots of questions to you this morning. Now, we know you've had to fix a ship while it's still sailing. Since your appointment to act as COP, what was your first priority and why was that your first priority?
Right. Again, thank you very much, Natasha. Right, for that introduction. Right, thank you again, God, for being here this morning. The question that you asked, is so potent as we go forward this morning. And the what what did I see as best to introduce when I took over as the Commissioner of Police? And my main focus was, in fact, on police presence out there. And when I talk about police presence, I'm talking about active police presence out there. So immediately, I established a patrol policy within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That patrol policy is that what will help us and guide us as this foundation in how we will be going about doing patrols, But in order to enhance that, we also had to institute immediately a fleet management and a vehicle maintenance policy. I was fortunate in liaising with the Minister of National Security to get 80 vehicles to be purchased over a period of months so that I can, in fact, implement that patrol policy, an initiative to ensure that we have that high level of presence out there. I think most of the citizens will recognize that within the last 2 months on the highways, they will see a lot of vehicles at different points. We call them now interceptors. And I had given the responsibility to Senior Superintendent Meister, of the traffic and the highway patrol, the traffic and highway patrol, to move it forward. But in order to do so, I ensured that the officers were trained in survival training, how to approach vehicles, how to deal with it. So no longer they are not just concentrating on DUI, they are not just concentrating on speed, but they are concentrating on policing as a whole. Because we recognize that persons are leaving from one point and leaving another point and committing crimes and getting back. So we said, our purpose is to control the roadway. They came up with the theme, a very important theme, and that theme was dealing with the controlling of the road. The road is mine. So when you hear they use the term, the word road is mine, they're referring to the efforts that they will be making to have that police presence on the highways. We came to that understanding after I got vehicles. I provided them with 40 new brand vehicles, and these vehicles are used as the interceptors, but they also were given the responsibility that all the various malls and businesses within 50 meters of the highway,
Mm.
they must patrol in those areas also. But to enhance that, we also started to train motorcyclists. There are 41 motorcyclists in training right now. That exercise will finish within the next few days, and they will be joining in that whole patrol initiative. But not just to patrol the highways, but to patrol the communities within Trinidad and Tobago. So very soon, the communities will be seeing double patrols with motorcyclists, patrolling in housing areas and so forth, because we found that it was necessary to raise that level. And I use the word active. And when I say active directed patrols, within that period, I set up two operational centers, one in Chaguanas and one in Barataria. These operational centers are fitted with all the necessary technological needs, from CCTV coverage of the highways, the bus routes, and other areas, right, to our licensing office database that they can do checks to help the persons on the ground. So checking the GPS in the police vehicles. So you used to hear the term that a police vehicle leave from one division and end up somewhere else and we don't know. That will not happen again.
Okay.
Because the operational centers will be checking on the GPS of the vehicles. They must call in the patrols, and when they are leaving, they must call in, and it will be logged. So it's a form of, in fact, managing the manner in which they do patrols. So the whole thing was to create this presence. We are even going further now by creating patrol grids within the various divisions, right? Come like zones, right? Grids and zones, and also foot patrol beats. So as we go along and we get more vehicles and we get the more manpower, you will see that within the communities, there will be a great increase in the amount of police presence. I was very, very fortunate after about 6 weeks of trying to get an approval of 60 officers, who are on vacation leave. You have to go through cabinet to approve that these 60 officers will come off leave, right? And it come like a buyout of 4 months of the leave in order to promote this whole patrol initiatives that we are actually running. So we got the approval of the 60 officers. So within the next week, they will be out to join to enhance. And why 4 months is because we have officers in training right now, and they will be graduating sometime in September, 114 officers. So when these 60 officers now go back on the vacation leave, they will be filling the slot so that we can continue with that high level of presence that is necessary. But again, I want to reinforce the point of the proper management of our fleet, and our maintenance policy. And we have joined with VEMCOT, and who work directly with us to help us in that whole management process so that vehicles will be going down all the time. You understand?
Yes.
Right? So that whole aspect of that deployment of vehicles was scientifically done, and we are now moving forward with it. So that was my first priority. Ensure that we have police presence out there, but not just police presence, but active police presence. Training up the officers. I sorry we had some videos showing Meister and his team how they were doing the training, how they're lifting the police officers' spirit, changing that mindset for them to recognize that we are not just traffic officers, but we are police officers in total to do the general work, right?
Well, this is a nice way to segue into the second question we have,
Yes.
because about the customer service. And, we continue to hear about the poor customer service in the TTPS. And did you see this as one of the priorities as well? Because, the traffic branch, especially, who comes into contact with the public every day, you spoke about that, and the way they interact with the public. And we've seen initiatives where they came up with making motorists smile and all these different things. But and then that again, when Mr. Head and Mr. Philbert and of course Mr. Selman spoke about it, that was one of the issues. Did you see this as one of it as your priority
I
as well?
saw it as one of the one definitely of one of the priorities, but I just want to indicate, you know, just talking about something and not mentioning successes will
Right.
not be good. And when we implemented the pilot project and is now it is running, we had 9 instances of serious interceptions by the Traffic and Highway Patrol, where persons were arrested, a lot of firearms were seized, even
Mm-hmm.
our dancing bandit, remember him?
Oh
You
yes.
know,
Yes.
Oh
so
yes. Yes. I
so
was really impressed with that. That within a couple of days he
yes,
was
yes,
behind bars.
yes. I must mention that and thank Mr. Meister and his team for the good work that they are doing, and they understand the concept well, and we are looking forward now to implement it within the divisions. As it relates to customer service, I will be the first to admit that we really need to improve our customer service delivery, right? What we have done, we have continued the training of our officers. You know, customers training is something that need to be continuous, you know. But what we recognize that doing that training is one thing, but there are things that are required to be done. And that is ensuring that our officers are aware of the laws, aware of what are the rules and functions, you know, because we're looking at, in some instances, they knowing what is their powers of arrest, what are the rights of citizens, you know, how can they, how can they really go about um customer service, and especially when persons come into the station to make reports,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and when they make reports, in some instances, some of the reports, you know, persons may not be so coherent in the sense of how they put across things. So we need to have that skill in interviewing persons. So we have upgraded our training in interviewing skills, you know, right? And what happens is that it impacts directly on the whole aspect of police legitimacy, you know. So we are saying that other than the training, we need to bring our officers to the level of understanding, right, the law and what and what the law entails when they are actually doing interviewing persons. I'll give you an example. The Domestic Violence Act, although I know we'll deal with domestic violence later on, is actually an act which is procedural. It tells you what are the roles and functions of the officers when taking a report, what are the roles and functions of the second division officer within the act itself. And then we have our standing orders that even go further and sort of, you know, repeat some of that information. We have to ensure that our officers are aware of that. But one of the things is the supervisory, because I talk about the SGIC, who is in charge of the shift for the station and their role and functions. So we have to up our supervisory level training for our supervisors, because sometimes the person who is in the front line may be that person who may be inexperienced, and that person is being supervised by persons, you know. And we we also realize that with the customer service, the officers will go out there and they have to give advice to persons. So, you know, we had something called the Justice Clinic,
Mhm.
where we had attorneys who came forward and they are going within the communities and bringing the communities up to date about land, adverse possession, you know, landlord tenant issues, all those things, right? Quite fine. What we realize that we need to do it internally. So what we did, we let our legal department, they design, right, an internal manual, right, dealing with civil and matters of thought of law. And they are now going around training our frontline officers so that when they go out there and they respond to customers, they wouldn't just be telling them, go by the GP. They wouldn't be arguing with them. They now will have an understanding and appreciation of what is really required, because 85% of the reports our officers attend to are not matters of a criminal nature and dealing with the criminal law. We recognize is dealing with civil, right, matters and matters of thought of law. So our whole trust now is to introduce within our police academy training in that area, because we recognize that our officers need to be up to scratch with that, because most of the time they engage the customers out there is to deal with matters which may not be of a criminal nature.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we have in studio with us this morning on this blessed Father's Day, the Commissioner of Police, McDonald Jacob, and also we're going to take your calls today, folks, so don't worry. We're trying to get you all our questions. We have a lot for the Commissioner. And also, when you're commenting this morning, please drop a happy birthday to Miss Joanne Archie. Yes. You know, Joanne Archie just retired a couple of days ago, but she's still active, trust me.
And she's logged on to our Facebook page, so hi,
so hi, Joanne, morning. And you all please remember to wish Joanne Archie a happy birthday this morning.
Yes.
As you know, she, of course, on her birthday, she's still taking time out to follow the program, and you know, she more jumping than the Commissioner for this program.
But to get back to our conversation, that was a very interesting statistic that you just shared with us, Mr. Jacob, in terms of the nature of the bulk of the reports that are made to the police service. 85% of them are not criminal in nature. That's important. And I think that kind of feeds into the next question about public trust. Does that statistic speak to the level of trust that the public has in the police in terms of reporting incidents, and how can this be improved? Because the general consensus is that people don't trust police, but I'm sure that you have a different perspective in terms of what actually takes place.
Well, it's not really a different perspective, but it's factual. It is factual that there is a perception that there is not much public trust. But from what we are getting, we get a lot of trust in the public because of how the public treat with us and the sort of information that we get, the sort of assistance that we get out there. You know, I mean to say the prisons are full, right? With a lot of persons being arrested for various offenses, a lot of cooperation by the citizens. So there's a lot of citizens out there who have trust in the police, right? But as usual, we need to improve on it, because we have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago, and the more persons could come on board and trust us is better. And then you will have instances where things will happen that the trust will be reduced, and then something happen again and it rise. So you have that in a limbo,
a delicate balance.
Yeah, yes. You know, and it is something that we look at. And I didn't talk at the beginning with our strategic priorities, but you know, this year we in fact introduced our strategic and operational plan for 2022 to 2024. And within that strategic plan, we look at different changes that we'll want to make. But I just want to give me 1 minute to just mention it, and then I will go into the answering the question, you know. The first of our strategic priority areas, is community partnership. Now, think about it, community partnership. So we talk more trust. So there are approximately about 27 activities in which we need to carry out, and some of the outcomes that we are looking for. Then we have safety and security. And that's the one everybody know about, to reduce the crime, detection of crime, you know, better road safety and all the other things there. And some of the things that I mentioned with the presence. But then we also have operational excellence, you know, and that is really to improve the service that we provide to our citizens, and not just the service we provide for our external customers, but for our external customers, and for the civilian staff within the police service and the various departments recognize that they have to up their service also to the police officers who are out there on the ground. Then we went to information, communication, and technology. It's the first time we have introduced that as a strategic area. because we recognize that modern policing sits on the platform of information communication and technology. And before, it was there, but it was not being measured. There were no necessary compliance, So we decided that it is necessary that we focus on that, and the people who are responsible are held accountable to ensure that the police service can move forward. And the other one, which is, very, very important to us, is occupational health and wellness. First time, occupational health and wellness, because we felt that the health and wellness of our officers, but it's not just the health and physical health. We're talking about the mental health, and also we're talking about the tools that the officers are given to work with, the facilities. That was not there before. And if we are seeing about, we want our officers to provide a better service, we must ensure that we see about the health and wellness. So there's a lot of things inside there, right? And as we go through this morning, you'll see I'll be mentioning things, but everything comes out from this strategic priority.
Because in a perfect world, Commissioner, we would say that we don't have officers who, because of the pressures of the job, who may have not turned to a substance to cope. And, it's not easy to go there and you see mutilated bodies every day, almost every day. An officer would see a dead body and run into. There are some people whose coping skills may not be as strong as their colleagues, And so this is why it's important, really.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And we're going to upgrade the number of social workers that we have within the police service.
Yes.
Right, our victim officers, and we're going to look at things in this particular way in order to upgrade the manner in which we see about our own, so that they can provide a better service. So we back to police legitimacy and public trust, And within our strategic plan, you will see that we're now looking to merge our professional standards bureau and our complaints department into one. The reason for it is that most of the matters that are under investigation, if it don't reach the threshold of being criminal by the professional standards, it now have to go to the complaints division. And there are some matters being investigated by the complaints division. When it raises the threshold, it goes into the professional standard. So we want to have a group of professional persons within our complaints division and within that whole professional standards bureau in order to handle investigations. One of the things we are suffering from is similar to the criminal justice system. We don't have swift justice taking place.
That's the problem.
And when I talk about justice, I'm not just talking about the prosecution of persons. I'm talking about the exoneration of persons, right? So you'll have persons there for months, for years, and the matter is pending, and they may not be really responsible. No resolution.
Right.
So we are to up the game with that. Now, there are some cases, we have the Sheldon David case and the Leash case that give us a shorter period in which we must complete matters. And if we don't complete those matters in that period, what will happen? The matters, it is the law is saying that now it becomes null and void. Okay. So we need to improve. Now we are looking at that so that when persons are out there, it will really act as a deterrent to them, knowing that if they commit X, Y will occur. But if we have a system that you're not getting speedy outcomes, right, it will not act as a deterrent at all, So we are looking to lift that standard, right? But one time I'll run into our community police, and you're talking about police legitimacy and trust in the police service.
Before you go on to that, Mr. Jacob, just to clarify for the audience, how is the complaints division public facing and the professional standards bureau handles the internal matters? What is the difference between the two? I know you said you're trying to merge them, but how do they interface with the public?
interface with the public, because
Okay.
persons would come to go to our complaints division and make complaints, and they put in have investigators.
Right.
And once something is of a criminal nature, the professional standards
It
they
then
will do
goes
with
up.
it. They will come and interview persons, take statements, so they
Okay.
both interact.
Okay.
You know, and lucky thing I came back to that, because I forgot something very important. What we have now introduced within that whole settings now is mediation.
Right.
We have introduced mediation, and somebody will say, well, they're going soft on things. We are not going soft on things. We are looking at win-win situations and continued relationships. Sometimes you have a minor incident occurred between a constable and a corporal,
Mhm.
right? And they are now before the complaints division, and it can be resolved. So when they work it out and it's resolved there through some mediation process, those two persons may end up working together 5 years after in another place. And
Yes.
if we only look at litigation as the only means, we run into problems in an organization like the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, where persons will have to continue to work with each other. So
Agreed.
to reduce that animosity within the police service, we felt that for minor issues, we can in fact give the persons involved that option of mediation, even though we are pushing to ensure that other matters resolved
In a speedy manner.
swiftly, in a speedy
That's
manner.
that's very important, and that's something that we endorse here in our independency in terms of use not being as punitive as we have been over the past few years, and look towards more restorative justice approaches to solving disputes.
Yes, yes, and we have to introduce it in the police service,
Yeah.
because, as I said, win-win, and for continued positive relationships,
Yeah.
it is crucial.
Yeah.
You know, um, the work that the community police is doing out there
Hmm.
is significant to assist us with that whole aspect of public trust and police legitimacy. I want to use the opportunity to thank some of the community police officers, right? Somebody don't like to call names, but in this instance, I must start with Sergeant Small, in the enterprise area. And, he just
Hmm.
received an award,
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
right? Second place
And that's a
with the
very, very
Caribbean Award,
important area.
you know,
Very
for
important
doing
part of it.
community work,
Yes.
you have WPC Goddard, who set up the conflict resolution center in St. Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who could forget Shabadi?
Who can
Yeah,
forget?
right. Then you had WPC Gibbs in Saparia. And if you heard about the Saparia youth club and the work that they are
Hmm.
doing
Yes.
within the community. Then you have WPC Peters, operating in the Greenville and La Hocketa area. You have Inspector Lewis, who is doing work within the northern area. Then you have Corporal Greenwich,
Mm.
you know, who is also in the northern division area and doing his work there. Then you have WPC Castillo, who is in St. Clair. Then my namesake in Tobago, you have a Jacob in Tobago, the
Yes.
Signal Hill Youth Club,
Right.
right? WPC More Tobago again in Charlottesville, right? You have some leaders like acting ECP, he's a superintendent rank killer one, you know,
Yes, we've
right?
interacted with Mr. Superintendent Ramkela one
Yeah,
from time
yeah,
to
yeah.
time.
And they are doing so much to help with, trust and police legitimacy out there.
Hmm.
Should I forget Hearts and Minds? Should I
No.
forget Hearts and Minds and
Don't
the
forget that.
ITF and the work that they are doing in Beetham, Sealots, and Lavantil?
Hmm.
The hard work that they are doing, and with I-95.5, I remember when we used to do Lavantil nights up in Lavantil and
Right.
all of that work,
Yes.
right? And now we have now joined partnership with Vision on Mission. In fact, your birthday girl is on the board in
On
Yes.
Vision and
vision.
Mission, Miss
Yeah.
Archie,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
yes.
Miss Archie, you listening? Right.
Yes.
She's listening.
right. Right.
She's
Yes.
listening.
And we support the work that Vision and Mission is doing, and we went several meetings with them and the ministry, in how we can really promote things and go forward. Even with the Ministry of Youth and National Service,
Right.
Mr. Garcia and thing, we just had meetings with them, We also had meetings with the social development and family services, where we now merging to have that relationship where we operate as gatekeepers, so that the professionals in these areas could enter into the communities and do work. So we will be the gatekeepers because we are inside all those various communities, even with the Ministry of Education. So we have the ACP Ms. Cooper, who is in charge of the Special Victims Department.
Is that Sharon Cooper?
Yeah, Sharon
Right.
Cooper. And team from that Special Victims Department, and the superintendent. I just missing her name. I remember it just now.
But Commissioner, hear how many good things the police service doing. Hear how many of these things. I mean, the layman and sit from our vantage point, we wouldn't know all of that going on with the police service right now, and the men and women who out there on the ground doing the good stuff. But yet I wonder how they feel as we continue, because remember, everybody wearing a police uniform is a police officer. Nobody has, community police or mediation on their uniform. Everybody sees someone in uniform, they're a police officer. I wonder how it affects them when we've seen videos of officers, who may want to abuse their authority, and how does that negatively impact your organization? Because you're getting a full pail of milk from these people, these units, and these folks that you speak about, but then we unfortunately have to see some of these videos that keep surfacing from time to time. We let you take a break after this one.
Yeah. But you mentioned things now which will actually undermine police legitimacy and trust.
Yes.
Right? Didn't even want to remember was Miss Guy Allen. Oh Lord, sorry, Miss Guy Allen.
Yes.
Yeah.
How you could forget Miss Guy Allen?
Right. But one of the important point I want to make before I answer that question, because I don't want to get beaten when I leave here.
Right.
Our white colored crime investigators, where we have 3 departments. You have the fraud squad, right? You have the ACIB, Anti-Corruption Bureau, and you have the FIB, right?
Financial
Finance.
Right.
How important that is to the police legitimacy? This is super important.
And what about the cybercrime?
Yeah, right. And then the cybercrime. Now,
Right.
here what is happening. Why I want to mention it. Dealing with police legitimacy and police and trust in the police is because we don't want to appear like if we are only concerned about conventional and street crime. Most of white collar crimes, status crimes, and it will appear like the police service is only concerned about the street crimes and who commit these street crimes and who commit these status crime. These departments are doing good work within their area to arrest and charge persons who might be sometime in the upper echelons in the society and might appear like the police don't want to arrest such. Yes, they have several challenges because they need to depend on a lot of documentation and other things from institutions and things when they're doing investigations. So they tend to stay a little longer to get outcomes, but they are working towards it. And the more they are successful, the more it will impact in a positive way in police legitimacy and trust, because the public will see that we are about the rule of law, equality before the law to all. And normally we don't think about them when we think about police legitimacy, but the work that they are doing is significant.
Yeah.
So I must mention them and our criminal investigators.
Yes. And then we must commend to the officers, and I guess they will fall on the PSB. But it's not easy to plan to go and arrest, to put everything in place to go and arrest a colleague. And we've seen it in the past. The last one is the ACP who got arrested and face put up on a mugshot rule like every other common criminal. But then you have to commend the police for doing that. They know this shows that it's equal opportunity for everybody where that is concerned too.
Yes, and over the period of time, we have arrested several senior police officers and several officers, but we always want to enforce the point of the presumption of innocence.
Right.
And we have a justice system, and we depend on that, and we have the rule of law. So in spite of persons being charged, we look for the day in the court,
Mhm.
and we operate in that manner. So all those things will help promote police legitimacy to see that we are doing our work, in an
So, Commissioner,
equitable manner.
it's kind of hard though for the police to do all the paperwork, do all the investigations, spend night after night. And then, for instance, we have people in prison who are waiting to be convicted of human trafficking offenses, and which will help elevate us to tier two, at least to tier one. Once we get a conviction, we could get there. And it's hard to see police officers do all this work, and then people just sitting in prison, they're getting fat. And after 2, 3, 4 years, they're not
The
getting
matter can't
justice.
come to court.
And they're not getting their day in court. And I kind of feel it for officers after all of that work they do. If the officers work on Christmas Day when human trafficking cases and arresting people. And how we thanking them for that?
Yes, yes. Well, I'll ask Natasha. Natasha, remind me, we're going to go to be dealing with use of force, right? And
Yes.
right? But I
Yes.
just want to reply to that.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
of course.
You know, very important. We have a multi-agency task force run by ASP Haynes and Party. We're doing a lot of work working with the human trafficking unit, and then we have the intelligence unit doing a lot of work. So you'll realize in recent past we have been arresting a lot of persons, right, and dealing with that enterprise crime.
Yes.
I take your point in relation to the criminal justice system and what is happening. What I can say is that a lot of work is being done by the Attorney General office and thing in order to deal with, and even the Chief Justice, to deal with the whole aspect of the criminal justice system. We had several meetings, and there's a whole upgrade in how things will be in order to have swift outcomes. The police service now need to put things in place to ensure that we organize by our case management system, and everything now is being digitized, and to speed up that process. So we are looking forward to support it in full. We have done a lot of work with our whole aspect of our ballistic center to hold to and with the whole aspect of DNA to speed up the whole process with everything, catering for that change that will be coming in the criminal justice system. So we will not be at fault. We have to ensure that it is actually pushing us into a direction of ensuring that we organize ourselves in a professional manner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Independency, folks. Remember, you can join us on our Facebook feed live, Independency, or our YouTube channel, Independency as well. Just search for that. We have in studio with us this morning. Commissioner decided to spend part of his Father's Day with us in studio, so we welcome this conversation. And has been a whole month of policing, so to speak, through our Independency program. We're gonna take a break, folks, and when we return, let the commissioner get a chance to take a little drink of water and relax himself. And remember, folks, we also celebrated Miss Joanna Archie this morning. Today's her
Yes.
birthday.
So when we come
So
back, we'll sing for her. And
yes, and you join. You could send us your, wish her happy birthday online. You could go online on our Independency Facebook
yes.
page and just drop her a line, say happy birthday to Miss Joanne Archie. We'll be back. Stay right there.
We the sex trafficking thing is a serious thing, boy.
Sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was only human trafficking it have.
But what do you mean?
No serious thing, boy. Where you get that from? I don't know about human trafficking, you know about sex trafficking.
So, how can you spot and identify perpetrators and children who are victims of trafficking? Many victims who are children do not look like under 18 years old. Child victims often move escorted around alone or in small groups. They also live in shared and even packed rooms and have very little clothing and belongings. Child victims are often seen with adults who are not their parents, their relatives, or their caregivers. Migrant children are often unaccompanied and separated from their parents. Child victims are often engaged in work that is not suitable for children. They are often deprived of their freedom to go to school, to play, and to enjoy being a child. Perpetrators have unexplained sources of income and possessions. They are businessmen and businesswomen running legitimate and illegitimate businesses. Perpetrators may appear to be the victim's friend, boyfriend, close relative, or employer.
We are the Counter Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough, current challenges. Called Habitalism. It features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangence methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Are you ready to serve? The Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force is seeking suitable candidates to participate in its recruitment drive 2022. Applicants must be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, of good character, with no criminal record as evidenced by a police certificate of character issued in the last 3 months, or evidence of payment for the certificate. No less than 18 years and no more than 25 years of age as at 30th September 2022. Interested candidates who meet the minimum advertised criteria are asked to present themselves at one of the assessment centers. Candidates can once again refer to the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force's social media pages for more information.
On Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the On Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joanne Teriyaki. Happy birthday to you. And that was for Joanne Archie. Thank you very much for your service, Joanne. May God continue to bless you in your future endeavor.
Great day.
Yes, so we have today with us Commissioner Jacob, McDonald Jacob, who are taking the time to sit with us here this morning, and we thank his family for giving us that privilege to speak with Mr. Jacob this morning, and also to the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Let's go.
Yes. All right. So jumping right off in keeping with our birthday girl this morning, who sent this question, what would you say about the state of gender parity, equality, equity in the service? How have conditions improved for women in the service, and when might we see a woman police commissioner?
Right. Beautiful. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is a clear example, of equality, for all. And over the years, the women in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service really proved themselves, and the entire system in itself cater for that equality,
I was speaking with Joanne on this, and she really, she was, telling me about your drive to ensure that this is a reality. And I mean, she well praised you, and a lot of other women police as well who endorsed that fact.
Well, I am so fortunate to be blessed with 3 daughters. And when I took up the role as Commissioner of Police, 3 persons who were my side were in fact women, Ms. Archie, Christopher, and Ms. Hines, and the kind of support that I got, I can't even express thanks to them, Ms. Christopher came on in the late half, but Ms. Hines and Ms. Archie, with all that that support. And now you have Miss Cooper, you have Miss Guy Allen, George. And, I'm so fortunate, to be getting that level of support. But it goes beyond that. I appreciate the work that Miss Archie did in the context of being the ECP, in charge of administration, and not just putting the number of policies in place, especially the harassment policy that we put in place in January. But beyond that, her mentorship, of the younger persons like Senior Superintendent Maynard Wilson, who is now in charge of the Human Resource branch of the police service, and passing on that knowledge, and catering for that whole succession planning. It was magnificent. Then you'll have Miss Hines, who is now in charge of the special branch, ECP Hines, and the work that she is doing with another woman, with Senior Superintendent Henry, right? And then Superintendent Govera, who is a male, but she's doing that sort of mentorship and training and development so that in the next few months she will be leaving. But when she leaves, she will feel that level of comfort that she has passed on her knowledge and her experience to these younger persons who will be taking over. And there's a lot of the women police officers who in fact doing that, Not that you are not getting support from the male officers, but we are dealing with the women here who is in fact minded of succession planning, minded of training of persons to reach that level, so that they can, when they leave the police service, be proud of the work that they did. And there will in fact be continuity with the positive work that they are doing. So, again, I thank all the women police, not just in the upper echelons of the police service, but even at the lower level, who provide me with the necessary support. I have persons like, I'm not sure you know whom they call her name, Karen Lancaster Ellis, who is now in charge of the commissioner's secretariat, as a superintendent, and who manages things at a level, ensuring that all our various projects and initiatives, are managed from a project management perspective, and she work with the monitoring, evaluation, and compliance department of the police service to get things going from divisions to divisions. In fact, they roll out this whole thing with our strategic priorities, right? And when you're dealing with our strategic plan, because we had something like 16 rollouts, and the persons who were in the forefront to ensure that we get it going and organized were in fact Ms. Ellis and a lot of the other women police who granted that measure of support. So again, I wish to thank all of them, but I want the continued support, right? Right, and not just me, the police service as a whole.
Yeah, because Miss Archie would I mean, I know she's retired and so on, but you see, brains and knowledge like that, you don't just let fit right away into the sunset. Give her a little time to rest. But do you have any plans to keep her on as a mentor to the women, especially from the academy level?
Well, I know she's out there and she's quite willing, and whatsoever come forward, I know she will gracefully say yes. So I am also looking forward for that as she complete her holiday period to see in what way that she can assist the police service.
Because so when you hear names like, you have certain names that when you call, you hear James Philbert, you Lance Selman, you hear about, their household names that people that became in the police service. Watchman, he became a household name too.
Yeah.
And when you have even the lady Marjorie John,
Yes,
who passed away recently,
yes.
and we heard Trevor St. Louis too, Mr. Philbert told me Trevor St. Louis left us too as well. But these Joanne Archie will be a household name.
Yes. So definitely, and you will know whether or not positive things will happen in the near future, because recently, in order to continue getting that support, I brought back ECP Hodge Griffith, to assist with this whole. Remember, I talk about the criminal justice system and the changes that will be taking place, and we want to get support. I brought her back in the sense that she was a court prosecutor. She understands the court work, everything. And then I brought back the ECP James, who was one of the top investigators in the police service, in order to assist. So both of them come back for a 6 months period to do some consultant work to assist us in that coordination between the police service and the justice system to get things running. So the question of our senior officers who have now retired with special skills and ability coming back to assist us is very, very important.
You know, so I remember I've seen the picture now where Patsy Joseph from South, another South girl too, led a parade. I think it was in Australia, boy, if I wasn't mistaken. But she went up there with a contingent of women, and I think it was the first batch of police women or police personnel from Trinidad and Tobago who took part in that parade. I think Mr. Williams was with them at the time. But as you say that now, I remember how many positions and how many wonderful things that women done in the police service. And I know Patsy Joseph was one of them too.
Yeah, so what we are doing right now, we are rationalizing things. We are looking to see how we can deal with our retirees and the kind of support. One of the first things I did in the month of January was to have a meeting with we have a retirees association.
Okay. Oh, right? You do?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
You know, we do have a retirees association. And we had a meeting. And in that meeting, we are now to meet again in how the retirees could in fact come and help the police service as we go forward, because we are sitting on their shoulders, right? We are sitting on their shoulders because a lot of them made positive contributions, you know, so
this will dispel what we heard, what that Mr. Watchman said, some young officers saying about retired is not a rank.
Yes.
We have to really dispel that because retirees are the ones who paved the way.
Yes, and I want to support him and agree with that, and we don't see that way. We see our retirees as one of our best human resource over there, and in fact, we have approximately about 300 police officers who have retired and are assisting the police service in different ways, you know, but at the lower level. Some of them are in community policing, some of them are come back as special investigators now in the dealing with firearms investigation. Some are special investigators dealing with assisting the police academy, you know, when they're doing the vetting and thing of persons who want to join the police service. So we are in fact, so there is a, you know, as you said, there's a lot of things happening that is not out there. And it is necessary that we be aware. And one of the things that struck me and why I will see some negative comments coming forward in relation to our retirees, one or two of my retirees called me and said, here now, we want to come back to assist you. You know, you cannot operate alone. And I say, that is so true. You know, we need support. But the support that we need, you know, I will decide, well, look, what sort of expertise I need and I require, right? And you know what was the comment? Those set of women around you cannot provide you with the necessary support. Well, you know, that was a mistake they made, right?
Oh, no, correct.
That was the significant mistake that they made. Goodness. To tell me that the women around me cannot provide me with the necessary support. So now I need to bring them back to assist me. Right. And I believe that was a deadly mistake that they made, and I think they are recognizing it now. Right. And they may be some of the persons who may go on the social media and make comments about, you know, you don't want no help, you don't want to give support, you want to operate on your own. But as you see, I'm not operating on your own because I understand policing well, and I understand the power of our human resource and our retirees, you know, and we will be working together with them. In fact, you know, we're coming up with a program, the best and finest of the TTPS. Conversations with the best and finest with the TTPS. So we'll have persons who were good in fraud, Mr. Virgil and the other persons, because you remember you have Mr. Virgil, Mr. Craig, and others who came, we brought them back to do the firearm investigation. Right. Isn't it the retirees? Yes. Oh, shucks. You know, so those comments. So, you know, so they now can sit down with the persons in the fraud squad in the various areas in community police and Patsy Joseph and others and talk to the young people, explain to them what is required, you know, share their experiences with them, for them to understand and appreciate what policing is all about and the specialized area, why things are needed. So we intend to have that program coming up very soon.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and remember, you can join us on Facebook, our Dependency Facebook page and YouTube, or you listen to us on 95.5 FM. Thank you very much for spending the morning with us. Happy Father's Day to all of you out there. And we are in studio with Commissioner McDonald Jacob as we need to step on the gas now, sir. And we want to discuss use of force. And
well, I will deal with that fast, right?
Yes.
Again,
because we saw that video again with the interaction with the two officers, and I do think we won't even show that again this morning. But you know, it wasn't a pretty sight, and you know, use of force, because I would remember this guy Jerry Goodrich. I don't know if you remember Jerry, well, former police officer too.
Yes.
Very respected use of force analyst internationally as well. I don't know how much of a role he may be asked to play too now that you have retirees in there, but I think it's somebody that you should think about including in your lineup. But say the use of force, how are you managing with that, and what's the plans to deal with that?
Well, the first thing, I just want to deal with the use of force. We're looking at control mechanisms, and that is the reason why from the beginning of the year we purchased 1,100 body cams, right? And up to this point, we have now trained 558 officers with the body cams. Before, we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But we only had 160 within the whole police service within the last years, right? So now we have a large number, and that is for our frontline officers. What came and happened, though, that have slowed down things is exactly what I have in the strategic priorities here. I'm talking about information, communication, and technology.
Right.
We now purchase them. We are training up officers, but it is not commensurate with our IT department ensuring that you have that background important for that when the body cameras and you need to recharge, and there is the necessary IT infrastructure. So now things have slowed down because we need to put the IT infrastructure in places so that when the officers and them return. Now, some of these body cameras can feed straight into our operational centers. Immediate, live. Why others, you'll have to download it.
Because
it have to be recharged.
Not continue. If just hold your thought there. We had two videos we wanted to show because we know there are officers who said that body cameras wouldn't work for the police service here, and we wanted to let them know it's not. We don't want to catch all in anything. We want to protect you all too. And let Shortman quickly go to video B. Let's show the commissioner.
Gary, not Shortman.
Gary, go to video B quickly and show the people what we're talking about here now. This is a video of a police officer being attacked by a civilian and how he responded.
He is doing a traffic stop, and another car pulls alongside him. A man jumps out and attacks him with a weapon.
Yes, we strongly making a case about the cameras. We want to see our officers with it.
And it was captured, and what you will see is the video was captured on his dash cam, but the audio you will hear is from his body cam. So that
go ahead.
Let's take a look at that.
Gary,
Shortman, video B, please.
Base, I just been attacked. I just shots fired. Shots fired. Don't move. Don't move. All right. You can take a picture and send it to me. Who are you?
This officer.
Base, I just been attacked. I just shots fired. Shots fired.
This officer doesn't have to worry about writing a report or concocting anything.
Don't move.
Everything was captured on his dash cam. And
shots fired. Shots fired. Don't move.
Look at that.
Don't move.
And
don't
you will see where it's simple. So
don't fight.
When we have a police officer shooting someone here, we don't have to worry now. We can see it now. And
stay in your car, man. Don't move.
Just spoke about, are they going to be
don't move
dash cam as well? Because as
he's down, base. Send a medic. Send a medic.
Shoot again, Shortman, one more time.
Very crisp.
So
I don't think it's fast.
Huh?
I don't think it's
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It goes on
sorry.
to
to
show how
just leave us here, man. He came with me.
Medics were called and was treated. He wasn't dumped in the back of a van or SUV. I don't know. That is one thing that we wish would change.
Yes,
with
sir.
the police.
You good? You good? Take a breath. Take a breath. You pull up side and came out with a hatchet. This car?
And the medics came.
Right here.
No, and he put,
Holy shit.
He went on a stretcher and
Somebody up there? Oh my god.
here the medics come and we
Where-
hope
where
one
you-
day.
Are you good? Yeah, I'm good, dude. I backed up, dude.
Look in tandem with
Oh my
medics
God.
like this. What we see,
Who's this guy? This
you
is
know.
this kid on the side. Hey, this kid's on the stop. Yeah, dude. Let's let him sit here. Pull up.
Because Natasha and I have done gone on fact and we want to say what police officers.
Base, I just been attacked.
So this is the first video that makes a case for body cameras. Commissioner, Shortman, go to the next one quickly. And this one now is an actual body camera footage of police arresting, tasering someone. A woman now this time is telling her, you know, instructing her to drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife. She wouldn't drop it.
Drop the knife now! Drop it now!
A sheriff's deputy had an intense standoff with a suspect who authorities say was threatening people inside a Florida Walmart while carrying a knife.
Drop the knife now! Drop it.
Body cam video shows the suspect barely moving or even responding to the deputy's commands as he points his gun at her while repeatedly telling her to drop the knife. Authorities say they were called to the location because the woman allegedly walked into the Walmart wielding a brick and threatening customers. They say once she found a knife in the store, she continued to threaten people until police arrived.
Put the knife down. Put it down now.
Once backup arrived for the deputy, he was able to switch out his gun for a taser. And after one more verbal warning,
drop the knife now.
The suspect was taken into custody and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She was taken to the hospital for evaluation, and authorities say she ingested methamphetamine earlier in the day.
Right.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
Yes, this
Right.
is the other thing.
She was tested and it found that she had crystal meth in her system.
Drop the knife now!
No. These are the things we're advocating for the police, a drug testing squad, so that when stuff like this happens, we could know, you could help us to here on Independency understand the drugs that's circulating out there. And of course, the body cameras. And you see all this taser. I mean, I shouldn't say this, it may sound sick, but I just love our taser is just incapacitate somebody. No, I've seen an officer down here use it. I've seen an officer here use it already, right? In Trinidad and Tobago. And it was well done. Was where you warn the person, and zap. And the person
it's fall over like a
very
tree.
effective. So, Commissioner.
Yeah, well, the body cams, we in fact have that policy or have our departmental order in relation to the use of body cams.
Mm-hmm.
The officers must understand the value of it.
Yes.
The incident they talk about at the Savannah, we saw certain clips and there were other clips that wasn't shown, right? But if you have your body...
Finally, welcome relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows
thrown up in the social media of the actual incident only, then your body cam will be able to record everything. So it is very valuable to the police service. If you check the traffic and highway patrol, every officer there is wearing the body cam, right?
Okay.
Our motorcyclists, everybody will be
They
wearing
have
the
body
body
cam?
cam. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've
We
not
have
noticed.
several officers who are actually using the body the body cameras.
So will
remember,
we now from training, let's say recruit training, so that they can start training with it. And
yes,
that's the plan.
so that
Okay.
is the plan where coming out of the police academy, there are persons who are trained to train the officers, and as they come out, they will be getting the body cam.
Lovely.
The
Lovely.
issue that existed in the past, that is identified now, as I told you, is that whole IT requirement, where in some instances, when it is used and it need to be restored, right, and they have no place to put it, you don't have the IT infrastructure existing.
Okay.
So now we are working on it, and that is one of the reasons I said we put this in our strategic plan in relation to information, communication, and technology.
Okay.
So it will be measured, there must be compliance, things must be done in line with what is required for the police, right? So now we want to give the assurance that within the next few months, the majority of these body cams will be out there, and police officers will be, in fact, wearing the body cameras. We are trying to educate them, but we have a few hundred officers using the body cams right now,
Mostly
right? And we
traffic
will,
police.
right? Yeah, and even some of the task forces. But you know, there's something in the middle of there. Every time we speak, is supervision. And for the supervisors to ensure that the officers wear the body cams and they are accountable, because remember, the operational centers are set up, and in some instances, certain groups will be given the body cams that can feed immediate into the operational centers, and they can. Now you talk about the vehicles. We have about 45 vehicles right now, right, with the dash cams on them. And in fact, when we have situations where we don't have the CCTV coverage, and it feeds directly into our operational center. So that comes and is very, very important to us. We have instances that is what assists us in managing things around in Port of Spain.
Commissioner, what are you hiding them thing from we? I mean,
No, well, it's the fact that this not publicized because we don't see it on social media.
So maybe
people
we should,
feel
we
it
should
don't
get an
exist, right?
opportunity. Well, we should get an
But
opportunity.
He's saying it exists. It's happening.
Well, maybe we should contact Brent and give us a ride around, let us record it and show
Yes,
the people.
we can in fact do that. Recently, we had some problems in Port of Spain area here, and I was up in the operational center. And it's from the dash cams, we were getting all the feed, exactly what is going on, how to manage things, everything like that. Yes, right. In fact, most of our ERP vehicles, right, have the dash cams on them. You know, the emergency response vehicles have the dash cams and can be feed into the operational centers. You know, to say that we don't have it. You know,
we need to highlight these things.
No, this is what I think the problem is, that people feel once they don't see it on social media, once they don't see it on Facebook, it's not a real
There's
thing.
a lot of work to be done for you all to recognize that we have these things. Because we imagine we have something like 7 operational centers in divisional operational centers that help each police division,
right,
where all this information can be feed. And also we have the air wing of the police service, right, air support unit, that use drones. These drones also feed information straight into our operational centers. So when we had the incident in Port of Spain 2, is the dash cams, the drones feeding this information, and you as the manager could manage things from this incident coordinating center. Right?
Yes.
We have people sending in messages on WhatsApp. We'll go to those in our white folks, or we have.
But the third thing, guys, before we move on, the medics for injured civilians and officers. And how what is the policy regarding that?
Right. Okay, I know that was I heard you all discuss that already. All right, in relation to that aspect. No, I just want to mention we have our use of force policy existing. But what I have the experts doing right now in the police service is to do illustrations. If you are going to take down someone in a situation, step 1, step 2, step 3, and we are going to do it in video, so that even though we have things in writing, the officers out there are not moving in a confident manner. You will see sometimes how they are reluctant to do things because they are worrying the camera is there. But if we have standard steps that you must follow, if you are going to take down someone in an aggressive situation and you follow those steps, you don't have to be worried. So we have persons doing that right now. So we will upgrade our departmental order, and in it we'll have step 1, step 2, what is required, showing the moves. We'll have the training up of our officers again, and we'll be doing it in video. So the officers will be more confident in doing things. So you may not have persons just doing what they know as a street fighter in how to take down someone. It will have so the officers could be more confident in relation to it. Dealing with the medic aspect of it, there are in fact some legalistic issues, but the aspect of testing the persons after they are arrested is very, very important to us, because I am of the strong belief that a lot of these persons who sometimes we arrest in robberies and shootouts and in other things, they are in fact on drugs. Their behavior can tell you. I can remember in Northern Division where they went in an apartment and they rape a young lady, they do, and the fellas and them just climb over the barbed wire fence. You get you got the all the blood, and they just operating, and then they went into the forested area. We were on exercises. Well, it ended up being fatal because we went in a particular area and we had a shootout with them. But when you check the behavior of the it couldn't have been normal persons, right? But we didn't know whether or not these persons, even though because they had gone fight with us in the forested area in Northern Division there, and the question is whether or not they were normal. They were not normal in their behavior at all. So it is totally unnecessary that we get that done. So we will see the use of the whole aspect
drug squad.
of
Well, I
drugs.
call it the drug squad, but it's a unit that, and you could have them in all divisions. Sometimes this happen, you get them dead or alive. You see, it will let us know of what are if there's any addition to the.
But does not need to be done in a medical setting. So does that require?
No, well, I think you train the police specifically to do that.
No, and that is where I said it have the legalistic issues comes in because our forensic science center, the people, whether or not what had to be done, so there might be some little changes that need to take place. Yes, we'll have people, we have EMPs trained in the police service to deal with that whole aspect of basic. We want to basic treatment of persons and things like that.
Yeah.
But whether or not the EMTs can be used in that regard, is it really a police function? What are the legalistic issues if something go wrong? So all of that need to be taken in consideration in relation to our laws and whether or not we are now moving from the level of our policing function into another function.
Right.
So all of that need to be considered. But yes, we have that basic treatment. We looking at the whole. I remember the question was asked of whether or not if someone is shot, we use the blood clot aspect on them to prevent the bleeding, and there are some legalistic issues with it also.
Serious.
However, we were advised by our doctor, our police doctor, right, and a lot of the experts, and you can research it. They say the amount of medical institutions we have in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And you have an incident, within a few minutes, we can take someone from one point to a medical institution. These blood clots, plasters that you can place, creates a certain amount of injuries and things to the wound and could make things worse. So you only do it in extreme circumstances, not when you can rush someone easily to the hospital. And that is their medical argument. And Trinidad and Tobago, we are blessed than other countries in relation to health and medical institutions.
But we're looking now at public perception that if a police officer, and in the absence of body cameras, if a police officer shoots someone, you don't expect that the police officer rushing this person to hospital. Let's say the bullet is close to the person's spine. The projectile hits and it's close to the person's spine. Then moving the person can cause further injury, and you don't want an officer to end up with that. And then the perception is if I shoot someone, then they could always end up DOA.
Yeah, but the question is that the responsibility of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service or the medical the emergency response, so that when something happens, we will call the emergency response.
Right.
But and if it is adequate, they will reach in no time, and that is what we will do first. But in most instances, when that is not happening, we will try to take the person to the hospital as soon as practicable. I understand the point that you are making, right? But what I want to say about throwing the person in the back of the vehicle, right now, I am working with VEMCOT, where we are now going to deal with our vehicles in a particular way, custom made. Some of these of the vehicles we are going custom make, so that we can put someone in the back seat of a vehicle without they being able to interfere with the observer or the driver. Right? Out of some of the new vehicles that we are getting, we are now going to test 10 of those vehicles. They already dealt with it in a particular way. We're going to do that conversion. And very soon we will have more and more vehicles. Once it works well, so that we can place persons in the back of the vehicles without that concern that they can easily escape from the
Or
vehicles.
fall out.
Or fall out of the vehicles.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so that work is being done. It has completed by the experts at VEMCOT, and we are looking forward for that change.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear. If you're just joining us, you listen to Dependency, and we have in studio with us this morning Commissioner of Police, Mr. McDonald Jacob. Blessed morning and happy Father's Day to Mr. Sinclair and COP and Joanne Archie. As resident of Crown Trees Enterprise, I would like to extend my gratitude to the TTPS, especially the community police, for the various programs implemented, such as the Altar and the Homework Center. That is kudos to the commissioner and the police service. Somebody just spoke about good morning to all. So all police vehicles have GPS. That's all. I think that's all police vehicles have GPS, right?
Yes, all police vehicles have GPS, and it's now being placed in such a way that no one can interfere. And it is an offense, a departmental offense, if you interfere with the GPS in the vehicle. Now again, it also depends significantly on our IT, right? Platform to ensure that everything work well. And when we want to do the journey, because sometimes the operational center cannot monitor a vehicle all the time, but if something happens, we can go and pick up the journey and want to know, well, look, they said that your vehicle is in Marabella and it's supposed to be on patrol in Valencia, and we can check it and we can see the journey, everything like that. So that is in fact there, you know. So the ultimate intent that all vehicles have GPS and ensure that all are working effectively. And those that are on actual patrol will be monitored by the personnel in our operational centers.
Someone is asking, why can't these vehicles be used as unmarked cars on highway patrol?
I know.
It sounds like an easy fix, but there's a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot more
that is required.
More to it, and it's something that they're looking at. And I remember at a security heads meeting with customs and excise, there were discussions in that. And I know the DA in United States, they actually build their whole apparatus on that with the seizure and so forth. And when the court make certain pronouncement, and they can now take vehicles and things and use it to assist them in the crime fight.
Commissioner Natasha, look who, and we have his picture, ironically.
Yes, we were planning to show
Sergeant
his picture
JC Small
this morning.
You know, you sent a message here, but it's kind of long, Sergeant, but you know, embracing and modernizing as part of our policing approach. He can call our names individually because.
Could you put up that picture while we reading this?
Just put up Shortman. Just put up picture D, please, of Sergeant JC Small, because we were going to commend issue a commendation to them this morning.
So he says, "Happy Father's Day to all of Trinidad and Tobago. We want to especially thank our commissioner for his truly inspirational and transformational style of leadership and embracing modernization as part of our policing approach. He can call names individually because he is on the ground and fully in touch with us and supports us in what we're trying to do in keeping with our strategic plan and vision to make every place in TNT safe, and our mission, which speaks to partnering with the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, especially with meaningful stakeholders like I-95 and Iron Dependency." I will also call and share in a bit. Acting Sergeant JC Small, and you can see, for those of you tuned in on Facebook and YouTube, this is Acting Sergeant JC Small with his recent commendation. Congratulations to you, sir. Continue to keep up the good work. He was awarded with the Regional Recognition Award for Public Law Enforcement.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, good
and
stuff.
Thank you, Commissioner, for recognizing the good work of your
Yes, reward and recognition is very important.
It's very important, you know, and for the officers, you know, Commissioner, we always say here that there are people who join the police service and they are police officers. And you know that too, right? Yes. And to the police officers, you know, not the ones who looking for work, but those who really actually came because they want to serve their country and who intend to burn in midnight oil over and over just so that they can bring something to a close and see where the commissioner reached today. It's not easy to reach where you reach today if you just join the police service for a work, you know, and we need to commend you and we need to say that. You know what I mean? And Commissioner, is there any other?
No, I just
because we
want
had a step on the gas.
yes, I just want to give thanks to the Amalgamated Security Services who were responsible for that award, that they work with it with the Association of Caribbean Commissioners, and they have international judges who look at it and come up with it. Is a competition among all the Caribbean countries. Is not just in Trinidad and Tobago. So the award was given to GC Small. When you read and talk about the award for the best crime fighter I got in 2017 is coming out of that same program with the Amalgamated and that Caribbean program that they had in relation to looking at performers throughout the Caribbean. So it's not just Trinidad and Tobago and Mr. Small, it's throughout the Caribbean, through the Association of Caribbean Commissioners.
So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to show the first commissioner of police in Trinidad and Tobago to this commissioner here, because we want to, want you all to see whose shoulder that this commissioner is standing on.
And we also take your calls.
Yes, but we really want to show you, if you don't know the commissioners of police from day one to now, well, you're going to see that. Yes, you're going to see that video when we return. So let's take this quick break. We'll be back. Stay right there.
Finally, Welcome Relief comes in the form of a scientific-based program that shows us how to manage through the tough current challenges. Called Habitalism, it features best-selling author on positivity and happiness, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, integrated with the award-winning Intangence methodology of Ross. Visit habitalism.me to register now for this free life-transforming program endorsed by the United Nations established University for Peace. Gifted by Guardian Group. Live easy.
Shortman, where's the audio?
Are you?
And we are continuing our conversation here with the Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. McDonald Jacob, and we'll now invite your calls.
Natasha, before Commissioner, before we go there, the training and recruiting, you all are actually looking to step up in that regard and make sure that you turn out the best police officers ever from the academy. Yeah.
Yes, well, training is continuous.
Right.
Yes, we were affected significantly from COVID-19, like most other police departments and other sections within our society.
Right.
we had to cut down on the number of persons who we train. Right now, we have 114 persons in training, and in so doing, we will have some persons who initially they will have 50% will be at home doing classroom work, and then then another stage they come into the academy because of space, and we have that going. So the idea that the police service at this stage is causing persons to go home and things, that is not really so. That happened sometime in 2009, 2010, when there were some problems at the police academy with accommodation. Our training is where the officers and them stay in, there for that required period of 6 or 7 months. But now, as I said, for COVID, we have made, because of COVID-19, we have made some changes. We are running a police academy now. So the training have been upgraded. We have introduced things like critical thinking, analytical thinking, the conflict resolution, the sciences, behavioral sciences within the police academy. You have Dr. Alexis and team who is doing a significant job there in relation to the training. So we are continuing recruiting. It is not going at the rate that we want when you're looking at the attrition rate within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Right.
But we have upgraded the training to ensure that they can in fact hit the ground running, when they passed out from the police academy.
No,
what is your
sorry, Natasha, just give me one
Sure.
before you go to that, because we were to show the past commissioners, Shortman, and that TTDF because the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, they also recruiting commissioner. So we just thought we would have shared this little spotlight with you here this morning with them, so we could assist them in their recruiting as well. And also depict the past pictures of the commissioners of police, please, Shortman. Which one? We could go with the TTDF recruiting first, and then we go to the past commissioners. Thank you. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency.
Are you?
We should have some.
No audio?
We should have some audio with us. Can we go with the video with the commissioners of police? Try that one, Shortman, please, before we open up the lines to take calls. I want to believe so. Perhaps just that.
Right. So you see, well, Commissioner, as you will see from up there, the past colonial police officers, and we. Shortman.
Says it's not playing for some reason. So I think we should.
Let's try and let's. To accommodate this interview. We have it online, and I want to say Happy Father's Day, Darian. Thank you very much for accepting our call, and your turn to speak with the commissioner, and wish him all the best.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Karen. Good morning to your listeners. And good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning,
Jacob,
Darian.
how are you this morning?
I am okay.
Let me say happy Father's Day to all the police officers, male fathers in the police service this morning, and our protective services generally. Good morning and happy Father's Day to all of them. I want to take the opportunity, Commissioner, to thank the police service for the wonderful job they did during the lockdown for the last 2 years. Previous 2 years, it would have been a very difficult time as frontline people and all the protective services, the police in particular. Thank you very much for a job well done. And of course, condolences to the families and the children today who would have lost fathers. And of course, all officers who died from COVID during the period, and in particular the fathers, the children who lost their fathers, condolences to them. God, I don't know if you may not know this, but I met Mr. Jacob while we were doing the Laventille nights in Laventille.
Okay, right.
And since then to now, Mr. Jacob and I have had an excellent relationship, working tirelessly, and he's always available when I call for information or assistance. And I want to thank him for that, And he has taken over the mantle at a very challenging and difficult time in Trinidad and Tobago. And while we've had crime in Trinidad and Tobago for a while, I don't know if people don't appreciate that after the lockdowns and all the restrictions, the criminal elements seem to be on break. How you call it? They're happy.
Sabbatical?
Yeah, no, that's sabbatical. They're happy, they're out, and they're doing all the dirty stuff, And when I said that some time ago, a gentleman was critical and said, but how you say that? The police service are doing the work, this and that and the other. Well, I drew the reference to school. And the school children were home. And the minute they came back out to school, we've had a spate of school violence because they're getting off the chests and whatever other issues they have in the school. And the criminal element is now has less restriction as they would have had over 2 years. And I want to congratulate the police on what they're doing. I saw police officers being rewarded last week. The gentleman, the 3 officers who was able to intervene with the young lady who wanted to jump.
Yes.
And I thought that was critical, very, very critical intervention. And I want to congratulate Mr. Jacob and his men for the job, the wonderful job that they do. And it's a tireless, unforgiving, and thankless job. And I'm very, I like Mr. Jacob's approach, no nonsense. He doesn't make excuses, and he is there getting the job done. And a lot of work in terms of changes and some levels of rebuilding and so on. So I want to congratulate him. So I think you have done a fantastic job. And, I want to wish you happy Father's Day today. And thank your children for giving you to us, because I know they don't see you as often as they would like.
That's right. That's right.
So I want to thank you so very much, and welcome to I-95, and happy to have you in the studio with us, talking to us on this day again. Today, your children probably want you home to cook for you, to spend time with you. You're in the studio, but the good news is that they will probably understand that you have more people to father than they themselves.
Yes.
And thank them for giving us that opportunity. We thoroughly benefit from it, and I thank you for your years of service so far.
Yeah.
And continue doing the good job. And we at I-95 will always continue to support the police service, whatever ventures, and of course support you as you take on this significant and major assignment, sir.
Okay.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, Darian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care. All right. And folks, that was Darian Marcel, and we have an episode with him coming up. It will be in September. Darian is a survivor of cancer.
Yes.
2 types, and he's still here with us. He's a perfect example of beating cancer. So we thank him for the opportunity. And someone says we would like to also we would also like to say happy birthday to Miss Joanne Archie here. She can, well, somebody sent a picture of Joanne Archie with founder WPC Giselle Cox. To date, Mr. and Mrs. Archie have been very instrumental in the operations of our organization. So, praise God. Thank you very much. We take another call, 622-3937. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
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 Mr. and Mrs.
Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm
Morning,
doing good. I'm good. And to the general there, I met him in person, you know.
Good day.
Happy birthday, Mr. Jacob. Let me refresh your memory. Remember when the Chamber of Commerce in Sandy Grande invited you all to a town meeting to discuss crime?
Yes, I remember.
And I am the one who talked about the city program because I have a passion for that program.
Yes.
And I am so happy when the Prime Minister will instating you and he talked that you were trained in mediation because my master's is in mediation and my thesis is community policing. And I became involved in community policing because of foster children. I joined them in the youth club and I got involved in things. And I think community policing is under recognized, and I can't find it, but they're not given the kind of what would I say that they deserve. Then you understand? No, I'm not saying that all of them are okay, but I am talking about what my involvement and the years I would have spent with them while I was doing my thesis. That's when we put the program together. And Wayne Richards, you would know him, was an acting commissioner, retired, and Magistrate Espini, we all put that program together. And the program is about what is happening now with these school children, and that is since in 2011. And one of the things I beg to differ, the violence we are seeing is not as a result of that break. It is the camera phones, because these things were going on all the time, because these are the children that we work with, and they thank God for the community policing. You understand? Mr. Jacob, let me tell you, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Okay?
Yes.
So you are doing your best, and there are those who are also trying and doing their best, but we cannot change the culture overnight.
Correct.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you,
very
Yvonne.
much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Yvonne.
Blessed morning to
Have
everyone.
a blessed one, and Mr. Jacob, I hope I will see you and meet with you again, okay?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I want to put out an offer to you, because you recognize that we had over around 200 persons who trained in mediation, psychologists, psychiatrists, and other persons joining in with us in our conflict resolution center in order to go out and deal with conflict resolution throughout, when we recognize that at least 30% of our murders was as a result of domestic violence and basic altercations and conflict. And I am so happy. I want to thank all the persons who came forward from San Fernando to the northern region, to all these mediators, social workers, and others who came forward to join us, and they were in that meeting at the St. Joseph Community Center. And we are now working it and going forward in how we can go into those communities and do the work in order to bring persons to that level. So instead of they use violence to deal with basic conflict, they will be able to handle it in a proficient manner.
Gascary. Blessed morning, everyone. As a police officer, I myself must say thank you to Mr. Jacob for his exceptional leadership. He has proven to us that it is actually possible to have great leadership in the TTPS, and is transforming our organization beyond our expectations. Thank you, sir. And this is from WPC Sasha Williams.
Yeah, hello,
the
good
St.
morning.
Joseph
Good
Police
morning.
Youth Club.
Hi, morning, Natasha.
Hi.
Morning, God.
Morning.
And good morning to the Commissioner and happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Thanks
I'm
so much.
proud of you. I'm really, really proud of you. The way how you care about yourself and the manner and how you actually deal with the police service. You're on point. And we have to give thanks to you for a good leader. First of all, sir, I would like to know, do you have any position for Mr. Filbert now as he's retired? And we are hearing the knowledge. We didn't used to hear from him before because he was very silent. He just used to work. But the last couple of weeks, God and them brought him to the forefront. And we are hearing more of Mr. Filbert than we ever heard before. And I am asking you, sir, could you in your last spare time talk to the National Security Minister and to the Prime Minister to see if you all could give him a role to lecture to some of the young men who are not disciplined? We have some of them in the service, they are not disciplined. And we need to get back some of that so some people could get back the trust and the love for the police service. I hope that I made sense to you to understand that a lot of people have lost a lot of the love for the police service due to the course of the behavior of some officers who drivey and they don't have the kind of composure that we get stopped in the road. But the attitude and the behavior is totally out of control. We know some of us give trouble. We know that. Okay? But, you know, like I say, if you bring back people like Mr. Archie, Mr. Filbert, to deal with the rightful issues of what it is going on now, I think we'll be in a better place than what we are. And before I go, can I invite you one of these days to come at the barber shop on a Saturday morning from 9 to 12 to speak to Mr. Benoit and Mr. John Gill? Could you make an appointment? And we would like to have you early in the morning and say about 11:30 we could leave. But we like to get some points and some conditions of your perspective of how you would like the police service before you move on to something else.
All right, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much
much.
for
Thank
your
you.
contribution.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we have the yes. What is your greatest wish for the police service? Well, you know, we spoke about the retirees, and you would have heard those two gentlemen, Mr. Filbert and Mr. Hayden, of joining the last Mr. Selman. I know you all appreciated their contribution. Did you?
Yeah, well, definitely. And you know, the last call I talked about Mr. Filbert, and Mr. Filbert and I have a very good relationship. Just recently, Mr. Filbert, we had organized that he met with all our investigators at the we had a program at the Hyatt. The Minister of National Security was there also with all our investigators speaking. You know, he lecturing in relation to some of his experience and in relation, because you know he's one of our key prime past investigators.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Mr. Filbert leaves with me quite on a regular basis, and he have a responsibility at the airport. So at a different level, we meet and discuss things, and he normally give me advice. You know, Mr. Selman also, when I took up the post, he spoke with me. I never worked with him before, but he gave me very good advice, and you recognize that in his interview, he spoke about the team approach, you know, and which is one of my mantra, where someone told me I will get in trouble because I like the team approach too much. And I'm saying that once I know about situational leadership, and I will know when I have to be the I, and I will know when. But my main thing is team. And he spoke about that last week and created that balance. So again, Mr. Filbert is basically with us. He normally give advice, you know, and he's carrying out a role in the background there, You know, he's the person who brought me in Port of Spain in 2006 when they were actually going to set up the crime and problem analysis branch. I worked with him during the transformation of the police service during that period. And that is the period we carry serious crimes from the level of 22,000 per year to an average of 12,000. We cut it in half during that period from 2006 to 2010 there. And, you know, that must be recognized. That is the most significant aspect of change that took place in the police service when we introduced crime and intelligence analysis and then through the Matrosky regime in doing work, you know. And it was nice of me interacting with Mr. Philbert when I was a detectives in South, working CID, you know, and he was in homicide. I used to get the opportunity to go in the homicide and work when they had special investigations. So I have all respect for Mr. Philbert, you know, and he's always there to continue supporting us.
Well, we thank them for the contributions that they made over the past 3 Sundays. Hello, good morning. We take another call. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Happy Father's Day, God. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Jacob.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah, happy
you.
Father's Day to all the gentlemen in the studio there.
Yes,
Thank
his
you.
voice sounds familiar.
Go ahead, caller.
I also want to wish all of the people who put in a honest day's work for honest day's pay a happy Labor Day today.
Right.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jacob, I want to urge you to keep up the fight. I said a very solid point a while ago when he said that you have taken over the reins at a very difficult time. You know, these criminals were on a sabbatical during the COVID-19 lockdown, and it seems as if now they have been let loose, as it were. All right. But the point I want to make is that I have been observing a very disturbing trend with some members of the media. Now, a while ago, early on in the program, you mentioned the name Jerry Goodrich.
Yeah, I
who
mentioned.
Is a certified master firearms instructor and also an expert in the use of force policy and so on.
Yes.
These are the people the media is supposed to be contacting to get their views and to get their opinions when certain things happen in the police service and interactions between members of the police service and members of the public. But the media don't ever contact these people. The media keeps contacting Mr. Jacob's immediate predecessor to ask him about everything that happens in the police service. And to my mind, I am asking myself, but when Stephen Williams demitted office, I don't recall the media calling Mr. Williams to ask him anything, ask him his views on anything. When Mr. James Philbert left office, I don't recall the media calling Mr. Philbert to get his views. And 1 or 2 callers ago just said that we have not been hearing from Mr. James Philbert for all this time until you interviewed, you had him on your program a few weeks ago. And this is because the media don't call these people. The media keeps calling one man as if he's an expert on anything to get his views. And I am wondering if it's a concerted effort to try and undermine the work of the incumbent commissioner of police. It's a very disturbing trend to me. You have all these experts all over the place who you could tap on and who you can call to ask their views. You're not contacting them, but you keep contacting Mr. Griffith. Mr. Griffith is a politician. Ask him when if he fights in the local government election. That's what the media are calling to ask
All
him.
right, sir. Thank you very much. I think we acknowledge that fact, and I think it's a question of accessibility, and also remember who this gentleman's wife is.
Yes.
So they're very skilled in the art of public relations, and that involves being in touch with the media and building relationships with media.
As usual, Commissioner, we run out of time.
Yes.
And this is so significant with this program. We packed with so much information. Shortman, just put up the last one, F for me, please. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to tell your men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service that this is our contribution to their Shortman, image F, please. And I hope that they understand. I just wanted to show them the thin line that we operate with. I'm a former serviceman, and right, and I want people to understand something. You have a great opportunity, and that's just me, Commissioner, as a soldier, and me as a prisoner. And I want the officers to understand that the profession that they're in, you see that line between the two pictures, it's very easy to cross.
Yes.
And once you cross that line, because of the oath, it's very hard to cross, and you get so much licks crossing that line. I have the experience and know what I'm telling you all. And I hope one day that I could sit face to face or stand before you all and explain the journey. I'm not a life coach, but I could coach about life. Simple. Commissioner, you have the final closing remarks.
Well, again, to all the officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, you all know that I am here for you all. To all the fathers, I wish you the best for Father's Day. We are looking forward to really make that transformation of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We need transformational leadership, sapient leadership, and collaborative leadership in order to get it done, right? We need to get the support from the recruits to the upper echelons of the police service to make the change. Even though I'm speaking to you all, I want to speak to the general public in the context of there may be a lot of negative narrative out there, and it is causing some persons to feel that this is an opportunity for them to commit crime. But we are making so much significant arrests now because of that narrative out there, and we are asking persons to desist. Our detection rate now is 34%, and around this time last year it must be around 25%. And a lot of persons are being arrested because some of the other they feel that from the set of things in the social media that the police are not there and they're not functioning effectively. We have been proving them wrong.
Yes.
We are saying to desist. We are in COVID-19 and it is still existing, and our officers and them are at risk. We have lost 37 officers so far, and every week we have a turnover of a larger number of persons going in quarantine, and police officers need to double up and triple up in order to continue going. We are asking them to continue the fight. You all know that our main mantra this year is in fact resilience, right? And we said that resilience is what is really required for us to go forward, right? In from 2022 to 2024. So I'm asking you all to continue the work, continue supporting the administration of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and thank you all again for the support that you have given me for the past 6 months since I have taken up the reign as Acting Commissioner of Police. And have a beautiful day.
So God bless
Thank you very much.
We have major news coming up. Oh, that's the applause for the Commissioner.
Right.
Well done, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Well
again.
sat, well said, well
You can breathe a sigh of relief.
And folks, said to you, all of you out there, we wish you a happy Father's Day. Thank you very much for the continued support for what we do.
And happy Labor Day too. Don't forget that.
Yes, and happy Labor Day too. We have a lot of activities going on. I'm sure a lot of your men and women are busy too out on the street right now this morning.
Yes.
So short and we really apologize for the technical difficulty that we ran into in this in the latter half of the program. But rest assured that Gary will be seeing that.
I'll be seeing an increase.
Yes.
Courtesy our good friend, Little John.
Yes. And to the person who, again, Shortman doesn't have a problem with us calling him Shortman, because that is something that we got accustomed to it, and he doesn't have a problem with it. So please, people, don't be too up in, don't have a problem with us calling. His name is Boris Hinkson.
Hinkson
Boris, sorry.
Lord.
Hinkson Boris.
Look, you're telling nobody my name.
Hinkson Boris, but that is aka Shortman. All right, folks. So have a good day. Major Juice up next
with Mr. Kyle Saunders.
Commissioner looking to arrest Kyle here right now. Thank you, folks. Have a good day.
Have a good afternoon.